Hey, happy Monday. It's Championship Monday. Welcome to the Wise Guys. We're like the pregame show, and we're very used to doing pregame shows.
Oh, yeah.
Dave McCann, Blaine Fowler, great to have you on the live stream tonight. It's an exciting day in Cougar Nation for a variety of reasons, and we've got for April 7th, we have an awesome show tonight.
Yeah, and we've already got, I love how when we come on, the chat is already going, right? And so you've already got Neil Jones in from Arizona, Dr. Sean Woodland in from Roseville, California, home of Robbie Bosco, Ruth Strains in from Harriman, Robert Robb always in every week from Ridgecrest, California. It's just, we appreciate you guys on board and ready to roll, and we love that the podcast, the live stream and the podcast, everything that is Wise Guys continues to grow, and it's all because of you. So thanks for being in with us.
Adam says it's Brock Harris Monday. It is.
Yeah,
it is.
You're right, Adam.
Wise Guys is presented by BradyPlus, distributed by the Deseret News. Our new podcast will be out tomorrow. Wherever you get your podcast, you can get the Wise Guys right there, ready to roll.
Yeah. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube. Be a subscriber for Wise Guys on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe for our weekly email, which gives you updates. All of this stuff is free, so make sure you join us and not just join us by being on here, but join us by subscribing to all those things that are free. It helps us keep rolling and things rolling.
Shout out to Eric. So happy to be able to join live from Singapore. It's great to have you back with us.
Hey, Eric, what time is it again in Singapore right now? Is it like 10 in the morning in Singapore?
It's like something like 9 or 10.
So
John from Camp Verde, Arizona. Good to have you here.
John.
Wise Guys is thrilled to have BradyPlus as our title sponsor. BradyPlus provides cleaning, food service, and packaging equipment, dispensers and service and repairs with 150 distribution facilities across the country, over 6,000 employees. The president of BradyPlus is Travis Brady, a BYU alum and a big-time fan of Wise Guys.
Yeah, he's awesome. And if you look around and notice, because you hear Brady's name every week with us, Brady's everywhere you go. So when we talk about cleaning supplies and janitorial supplies and all that, you look around, you walk into a public restroom in a hotel. I was just down in Vegas for a training lab for surgeons in my other job.
Yeah.
And I walk into the restroom of a major hotel. I'm not going to promote the hotel, but there was Brady stuff all over the place. I'm like, yes, that's my guy, Travis Brady.
You go into the Pentagon or Disney World, same stuff.
Yeah. In church, up at BYU, you're going to see it all around. So we're grateful to Travis, and BradyPlus is all over the world, all over the country. Deseret News is our distribution partner. We're grateful to have them on board. Deseret.com, Utah's newspaper since 1850. Watch for all of our content on the social media sites as we serve Cougar Nation all over the world with Deseret News as our distribution partner. And don't forget that Dave writes articles for the Deseret News every week. Gets to be a columnist there. Writes a bunch of fun stuff. A lot of the stuff that Dave writes comes from our guests and the great interviews that we have here.
Yeah.
And it gets really in depth. So don't forget to look for that content on Deseret News as well.
Including tonight, because we've got some cool guests.
That's right.
Here's what's on the show. First of all, basketball news. Keita announcing his return for next season. We're still waiting for 2 other starters. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. Well, and hey, I feel good about this. I'm just going to say that. That's part of the tease,
feel
right?
good?
Part of the tease. BYU football is, who was it that already said this on the Adam Streeter on the chat said Brock Harris. So we're just going to say this: one of the top tight ends in the country, tight ends in the country, has committed to BYU today. Has the potential to be one of the best tight ends that ever stood up for BYU. If you just look at what he is coming out of high school, but you know what? We have one of the best tight ends in the history of BYU that's suited up to be on our show tonight. In Jonny Harline, he joins the Wise Guys. He brought his guitar, in case you were wondering. I'm looking. He brought more than one guitar.
He's gonna sing and play.
I think he brought an amp.
We're setting the amp up.
So this is what I'm talking about. If you're ever wondering, hey, what's such and such doing? So we're going to show you. We're going to talk about what Johnny's doing. He's done a lot of great things with music throughout his life, even when he was playing. But we're going to get to see the musical side of Jonny Harline tonight.
Also tonight, the French Connection. Bob Hudson's the chair of the French and Italian departments at BYU. He's going to help us knock down the language barrier between French and football. And he's got a unique story because he was an offensive lineman and came to BYU on his recruiting visit.
Yeah.
And a certain current head football coach was his host.
That's right.
So we're going to hear that story from back in the day. They're dear friends even to this day. But that's going to be a fun hangout time with Bob Hudson. We've never had the chair of a language department on the show, but we're branching out.
And I only know one phrase in French. I'm going to say it now, and then you guys can all think about it.
Is it going to get us in trouble?
No, it's okay. This is the only thing I know. Je t'aime beaucoup, mon petit chou.
All right.
That's what you say when you're talking to a beautiful woman. You say, je t'aime beaucoup, mon petit chou. So all the people that speak French out there, that's the only French I know. My wife likes it when I say that to her.
Yeah.
So we'll have him.
Sounds very nice.
We're going to have him translate that for us. My wife says it's very endearing. So
okay.
So we'll see.
There you go.
So there you go. And remembering our dear friend who passed away this last week, Elaine Michaelis, who did so much for athletics at BYU, a legend, a Hall of Famer. We'll honor her a little bit today and talk about Elaine Michaelis.
Let's jump into the headlines, and it's BYU basketball. It's crazy that the championship game is later on tonight, but the season's over. But with the transfer portal, it never ends.
That's
and
right.
And it's a lot. How many times have you checked your Twitter handle, your X handle, to see if Richie has announced that he's coming back, or to see what Yegor's doing?
Yeah.
It's like all the time. We do know that Keita announced over the weekend that he's coming back. We thought he'd be back, but it's just good to see because now you've got your center. You've got AJ Dybantsa, wherever you're going to play him.
Right.
And Richie Saunders, who we fully expect to be back, is the part of the big three.
Right.
And so we feel pretty confident that those big three are going to be in place.
And then you add Xavion Staton to that, who's a 7-foot rim protector, and some of the other pieces.
And now you
of
got
the puzzle.
4 big ones.
Yeah, and then some of the pieces. This is the team that make a big run. Now, the one we're all waiting on. Well, we're all waiting on Richie. I just feel like Richie's got such a good situation and is so valued. The BYU's going to take care of him. He's going to come back.
Yeah.
I feel really good about that.
We're hearing good things.
How about
that.
Yegor?
Yeah, Yegor's put out some cryptic messages the last few days.
I was certain 2 months ago that he was going out in the draft, and they're still projecting him as a first-round draft pick, and I'm thinking there's a chance. So you're supposed to say, so you're telling me there's a chance.
So I asked a member of the staff when he put out his cryptic message on Saturday morning, I think it was. I asked a member of the staff what that meant, and they weren't sure either. And so he's got a tough one to make. We kind of feel good about that. Linda's in from Saratoga Springs. Mark from San Diego's in the house. There's Dallas. And Naperville is in.
Robbie Yuki from Dallas says, we're pulling for the Big 12 tonight. Go Cougs, Red Cougs.
Red Cougs.
Yeah. Isn't it fun to be in a conference? Like, in my house, yes, we're going for Houston. They're in our league. They're our brothers in the league. And I love, and we're going to talk about a little later, some of the comments that Coach Sampson made. Yeah, let's talk about that later. We'll tease that a little bit.
Hopefully they get that done.
Yeah.
So Kadeem Mboop at 6'9", Mihailo Boskovic 6'10", Dawson Baker 6'4", Dominic Diamande, the transfer from Washington, at 6'8", Brody Kozlowski at 6'8". We expect all of them back.
Yes.
But the wild card is Yegor. The question is, he has until like June 15th to first he's got to declare for the draft so we can go to the camps. And then by June 15th, he's got to withdraw at like 3 p.m. our time.
Right.
And then the draft is the following week. And so
still some time to figure it out.
He's got plenty of time, as does Richie. And they can go through those things. The challenge is if they are not going to come back, and there are 1,000 kids in the transfer portal, but the best of the best kids, they're not sticking around. So if you're Kevin Young and you're like, okay, Yegor, I need to know, do I need to go get a point guard or are you back?
Yeah.
And can I wait till the middle of June?
Do you know what was curious? So, and everybody just think about this for a minute. So we're all thinking Yegor's going out. And then Dallin and Cannon, the other 2 point guards on the team, enter the portal. And to me, I'm going, oh, wait a minute here.
Maybe there's a reason.
Do they know something behind the scenes? Like, if you're Dallin and Yegor's going out, and you were sharing minutes with Yegor, playing at the same time with Yegor, but also sharing minutes, and you're playing 20-plus minutes a game and a big role player on this, and a big part of their success this last year in the Big 12, do you not come back to be the man? So I just keep wondering if there's some behind the scenes that they know about. Or is Dallin just saying, it doesn't matter whether Jaegor's going out or not. I want to go someplace where I am the feature.
Yeah.
And I don't
want to play more.
And I haven't talked to Dallin about it. I'm going to be right up front and say I haven't talked to him. I wish I had seen him. I see some of the other guys around. I haven't seen Dallin since the season ended. So it'd be fascinating to ask him about that decision. But could there be more to it than we're thinking, and is Jaegor coming back?
It is a minute-by-minute thing. And he may already decided and is just waiting. But we'll see. But it's very exciting. The notion of him coming back with AJ will launch BYU into the top 10 in preseason. And then they open with Villanova on opening night
and I
in
hate
Vegas.
to overplay it for this team. This year went to the Sweet 16. That team next year, if Jaegor back and all these pieces that you just mentioned come together, and Kevin can put them together the way he put this team together. Can we not say they have potential? I mean, there's a little luck and there's seeding and all that.
Right.
But do they not have the potential to be a Final Four team?
I think they do. Those are the kind of teams that got to the Final Four.
Yeah, it's like, wow.
So we're going to see. We'll keep you posted on that one. We're all following it with great anticipation. By the way,
Adam Streeter says most one and dones have declared already, and Jaegor hasn't. So.
Russ, by the way, is checking. He says checking in next week from the BYU cruise. So from the high seas, maybe Russ will be in.
Yeah, and Russ,
hope you have Wi-Fi out there.
We're gonna have Brian Logan sit in for me. If we've got great Wi-Fi, maybe Russ and I will sit together and we'll just we'll zoom into you.
Yeah, I don't know how much Wi-Fi is out there.
I don't know how great it is, but if it's good, if Russ can figure it out, then he and I
strap
will
it to
zoom
a seagull and have it fly above the ship. Nebraska is checking in tonight. Says, let's go Cougars.
Forney, Texas in the house too.
Yeah, good.
And Conrad, thanks for checking in from warm San Diego. Why, when I was in San Diego a couple weeks ago, was it not warm? That's my question.
It's bad luck.
Yeah.
You just have some bad luck.
So.
AJ Dybantsa, speaking of the nation's top recruit, in that McDonald's All-American game last week, he was the full feature. It was AJ the whole time. 17 points, 5 rebounds. And there were other good players, too. They're all 5 stars. Connecticut had 3 of them. But every story came back to AJ. So when are you going to see him next? The Jordan Brand Classic on April 18th at 4 o'clock Mountain Time in Washington, D.C. That's going to be on the NBA app and the NBA YouTube channel. And then he's coming here to school on April 29th. I'm telling you, we've said it before, and we're going to say it again a whole bunch. We really have no idea what's coming, right? Mm-hmm. It's like it's today's LeBron James coming to play at BYU for a year. It's Kobe Bryant coming to play at BYU for a year.
It's crazy how good he is. And the attention of the national media is going to be squarely on BYU. And can you imagine if Jaegor comes back and you got 2 first-round draft picks in your starting lineup?
And then where do you put Richie? Maybe you have 3.
Yeah, you have 3. Richie has the chance to play himself into a first-round draft pick next year. So that's crazy. Hey, Adam Streeter, it seems like he's got some insight. He says Dallin's looking at Creighton and Virginia.
Okay.
And here's what's funny. I would have said, he wants to take a step up. I'm looking at Creighton and Virginia and going, wow. He's going to go to a team that doesn't have quite as much talent as BYU next year.
No, there might be some more minutes for him.
Yeah.
Larian from Orem, just up the road.
And Russ, we get that. Russ said he's rooting for Houston tonight. He goes, yeah, I root for everyone in the Big 12 except for the Utes.
Yeah.
What are the Utes really in the Big 12? They don't want to be.
I'm not sure. They didn't contribute any.
Yeah, they didn't act like no dollars,
Ben is in from Cary, Idaho. Good to have you on the stream. By the way, speaking of the Midwest, how's that for transition?
Yeah, good transition.
BYU and Nebraska are going to play a couple of exhibition games, one here and one there. The first one's going to be in Lincoln, probably in October. There used to be those secret scrimmages, remember you used to have? And now they're not secret, and they can sell tickets and raise NIL money. So they're going to play in Lincoln, and then the following year, in 26, Nebraska will come do that here. And now Nebraska just won the college basketball crown tournament in Vegas. They beat UCF Sunday in the title. That if there's a team to scrimmage, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, and they've got folks coming back. So, yeah, I saw a little bit of that down because I was in Vegas this weekend, and there's a lot of hoopla around it down in T-Mobile.
Yeah, so, there weren't a lot of people in the arena.
No.
But, stage a game opposite the Final Four.
Yeah,
come on. But hey, Nebraska made the most of it. They and UCF looked good. Made it all the way to the championship.
It's a chance to play in postseason, get more practices in, get exposure, gel as a team, and they got a good core coming back. So that'll be a great exhibition game for BYU. As you mentioned earlier, the NCAA championship game's tonight.
Yeah.
It's in about an hour. Well, a little under an hour now. Houston versus Florida later tonight. Here's what we suggest. They're on the chat with us. Just stay in the chat with us. Record the game, and then as soon as we're done, we'll try to get you out of here in a timely fashion. Then just start watching it and skipping the commercials. And just catch up.
Or you can just watch and stream at the same time. Everyone's everyone's got multiple screens now.
So, and here we were referring this to earlier. So when Houston beat Florida, Houston versus Florida, when Houston beat Duke the other night, Kelvin Sampson, the head coach, he gave a shout out to the Big 12. He thanked the teams in the league for preparing them to win it all. I love how he said, we don't play in a toy poodle league. We play in the Big 12.
Who says toy poodle?
Like, I love that. He goes, we don't play. I don't know what he was referring to. Was he referring to Duke and the ACCs in a toy? But I don't know what he was referring to.
I don't know. That's where I went with it. I go, that must be those guys he's talking about.
And no, we play in a league that tests you. And I shout out to the Big 12, basically saying, hey, it prepared us for this NCAA tournament run. And how about that comeback? Wow. You and I have been talking all year about how those guards are just flat out dogs. Like, they just play and they're fearless. And they, Cryer and Sharp down the stretch, my goodness, they were ridiculous.
They were good.
Cold-blooded. They were amazing.
Sylvia's in from Wisconsin on the stream, and there's Michael from Beaumont, Texas. A lot of folks in Texas cheering for the Red Cougars tonight. The last time Houston was in the big game, Dave Rose was the team captain.
That's right.
I texted him after the game on Saturday. He texted back. He goes, that team is so tough, they won't quit.
Yeah.
I hope he's down there. I said, you should be down there. We'll see if he's down there
guys,
tonight.
and they're good three-point shooters, but when the game's on the line, we've talked about this, great players, when Tom Brady's in the last 2 minutes and he gets the ball in his hand, he goes like 8 out of 9. Like, his focus just lasers in and he doesn't miss. That's how I feel about Houston's guards. When the game's on the line, they want the ball and they're better than they've ever been with pressure. That's a special skill set that they have. So
I'll be honest, I like
him tonight in this game.
I thought Cooper Flagg was going to make that shot.
Yeah, he had
a difficult shot for him.
He had a good look.
Yeah.
But so now Houston goes on, they play Florida. Florida has our good friend Tony Golden Todd.
Yeah.
That we did a bunch of games when he was over San Francisco and got to know him a little bit.
Yeah. I just wonder what their offense. I think they're really good. I just wonder what their offense is going to look like against Houston's defense.
Yeah,
because Duke had the best offense in the country, and they went 5 minutes without even scoring.
Yeah. Oh, they went
down
long.
The stretch.
They went longer than that. They had one field goal in 10 minutes.
Yeah,
that's what Houston can do to you when they put pressure. So I have my bracket, just for the record, and there's some other games upsets that I didn't call, but I had Houston winning the whole thing. So we'll see.
Me too. I had Houston beating Auburn.
My daughter-in-law, who's home, when I walked out the door, I said, I'm going up to do the podcast. And she said, boo, Houston, go Gators, because she has Florida winning the whole thing.
All right. Well, it's when family stuff's on the line.
And she has the chance to win the whole bracket, too.
I won my milkshake with Andrew 2 games into the tournament.
Well, I have to say, my whole family pool, last year, my granddaughter Madison won the whole thing.
She did?
Yeah.
Nice. Adam's in from San Antonio. That's where the big game is tonight, in the Alamo Dome. Right. The other big game in the Alamo Dome was the Alamo Bowl, and BYU thrashed Colorado 36-14.
The Big 12 did really well in that game.
Yeah, that's a good city for the Big 12. They had the
winner and the loser in that game.
Some basketball news and notes. Kaylee Woolston withdrew her name from the transfer portal, and she's going to return to BYU following her church mission, and she'll play for Lee Camard. She was on her mission, still is.
Right.
Went into the portal.
As soon as the announcement that Amber was gone.
Now all of a sudden she's back in the portal.
Yeah, I think she wanted to give herself flexibility. And then they found out that Lee Camard was going to be the coach, and she said, yeah, that's great. Lee recruited me. I'm good. She
led the country shooting threes, 46.6%.
Yeah.
From the three-point line as a freshman. She's got 6 months still to go on her mission in Baltimore. Delaney Gibb was on Sports Nation with us the other day. They're pumped.
Yeah.
They're all in on Lee. And it's interesting, and we're going to ask Lee. He'll either be with us next week or the week after.
We need him the week after because I don't want to be on the cruise when Lee is here.
It's interesting when an assistant of a coach who leaves, whether it's their choice or not, how that assistant was just part of the same stuff.
Yeah.
And yet it becomes different. Dave Rose was assistant for Steve Cleveland, and Steve got him back into the big dance. And then Dave Rose took over and took them further. Yeah. Right? And took them there more often.
Perennial 20-win season team over and over and over, right?
So you've got Amber Whiting. Lee was her top assistant, ran the offense that had a lot of turnovers, over 500 of them. And so Amber goes, and Lee's now in charge, but then there comes this energy of, okay, Lee's in charge, now let's go. And we'll find out what's different. Right. But different energy comes from different coaches.
Yeah, and he may have different philosophies on a few things, right? So we'll see how that changes. I know they had a big national process, and they settled on Lee, and and Lee's a good friend. And we'll continue to say this. We love, you and I love Amber. Right. The whole family.
We're good friends.
You know, and it's we're great friends. And, man, in this coaching world,
it's hard to win games.
Yeah, and if you don't win games, you move on. And then sometimes people resurface in another place and they win games. Yeah. You know, so we will continually root for her wherever she ends up.
And Lee had some nice things to say about her, and Jeff Judkins, who helped Lee along the way. And so we'll have a great visit with Lee Kamar and get his vision coming up.
Let's talk BYU football a little bit, can we?
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so Brock Harris commits to BYU today.
Did you watch it? I was watching it live.
That's a big deal.
That's cool.
And he is, we'll get Johnny's opinion on this when he comes on. I mean, he has all the tools to be really, really good. And I read a thing today that said he was the number 3 rated recruit in the history of BYU. So that's pretty highly rated.
Yeah, right? In the modern day of the
they've had these
ratings.
stars ratings. Johnny, did you come out before the stars ratings? Because Johnny's already here, right? He doesn't even know about the stars.
Well, the ratings are all the thing now.
Yeah. I was a no stars guy.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have stars. So I was the player of the year in New York, but no stars. No stars.
Well, now there are stars, and he's got 4 of them. And he still has a senior year to go.
Yeah.
Down there in St. George at Pineview High School. So they were in the gym during the announcement on 24/7 Sports on their YouTube channel. And he had hats of all the schools. Yeah. Michigan hat, Georgia hat, Miami hat, Oregon hat. Way down there was a Utah hat. They weren't even in the mix here.
It was out of courtesy.
It was just sitting on the table. Someone found a Utah hat somewhere in the gym. They said, where should I put it? Just put it on the table.
Don't alienate other people in the state. Right? But think about those teams you just mentioned, right? That was the final. Every team wanted him, put an NIL package together for him. Michigan, Georgia, Miami, Oregon, BYU. He's a junior in high school right now, 6'6", 240 pounds.
Yeah.
And can run like a deer. So, yeah, he's a big-time skill set.
So he's ranked number 2 in the class of 2026 for tight ends by 24/7 Sports. ESPN put out their top 300 today for the 2026 class. He's at number 33.
All positions.
Yeah, Ryder Lyons is way back at 50.
And doesn't it feel like the top 10 are all like quarterbacks and wide receivers, right? Yeah. So to be a tight end and to be number 33 in the entire country is a big deal. So he's going to be a senior, as you mentioned, at Pineview. Then he's going to go on his church mission after high school, and then he's coming here. As will McKay Madsen, right? Who's been this big stud out of Fresno. He's got his mission call already. The difference is Madsen's a year ahead of Harris. So Madsen will go out, come back. Brock will still be out, and then he'll come back. And then there are going to be others that will be out, that will come back, that we'll be talking about in the weeks to come. 5-star quarterback Ryder Lyons. He's got offers from everybody. And he's the number 1 overall quarterback in the country, isn't he?
Yeah. But I talked to McKay Madsen, who's going to be on this show in 2 weeks. And, he's like, hey.
He said, Brock, he told you Brock
all these guys are coming.
He said, Brock's coming.
He said they're all coming.
Ryder's coming. So, okay.
Adam's on the stream saying Johnny's still open. That's our cue to.
Yeah.
By the way, the spring transfer portal opens next week.
Yep.
For football, so that's going to be interesting.
We've already been talking to Johnny off the air because we just had the things that were related.
We got things going on,
but now we have him on the air.
So officially, our first guest tonight played tight end at BYU, caught the game-winning pass to beat Utah in Salt Lake in 2006. Plays in his own band, has brought his guitars to the show tonight. We're going to hear from him in just a little bit playing, but we want to visit with him and welcome you to our lair here in Provo. What do you think of our place?
Oh, it's awesome. Thanks for having me.
So fun.
Great backdrop and everything.
Just so you know, the last time that we had live music on the show Well, we brought Libby in, right?
Yeah.
So
It
my
was
daughter
a cappella.
Libby, that's a Broadway star. No, brought the guitar.
Oh, did you play?
I brought the guitar and
that's
played in
right.
the company. Libby did a couple songs. Was it Christmas
That's
time?
right.
She had a Christmas tune, a couple of fun tunes. That's the last time we had live music in studio.
We're taking it up a notch tonight because we got an electric guitar.
Yeah, we got electric. I just played the acoustic on the mic. So that
Yeah.
was it.
Well, I'll do a little of both.
That's so fun.
Well, welcome back to Utah. Having moved the clan from Vegas, you settled in and good to be back?
Yeah, it's nice. I grew up in Orem, and the family, for the most part, my wife and I, we both have a lot of family here.
Sure.
So, yeah, it's nice to be back and
Get to
be
more
seeing them
games now.
Yeah, and that too. Here for just all the events going on, and it's more like, oh yeah, I didn't go to a game this year, but it
next
was more
year-
possible.
Yeah, Kalani
It was more of a choice.
welcomes everybody back, and so
Yeah.
it'll be a natural for you. In fact, he's like, I'm sure if you wanted to, Kalani would say, yeah, come be on the bench. Like, yeah, absolutely. He loves to have the alumni around, and it's he really creates a family atmosphere, and it's more convenient for those of us that live around here. So it'd be great.
For sure. Yeah, I think so. And I always have people tell me, like, just tell them you want to come to the game. And I don't know, I have a hard time just feeling like I'm entitled to just be like, hey, let me on the sideline,
Hey,
I'll ask
you're
once in a
entitled.
while, but
Yeah,
You're entitled.
You can. How satisfying was it for you to watch that BYU went up at Utah this last year? Especially, think about this. The last time BYU won up there was 18 years ago when you caught that ball. That's the last time BYU won at Utah.
Yeah.
Although you and I won sort of at Utah. I'm trying to remember, didn't you play with me and Sean Bradley and those guys when we went and played those Utah alumni guys in that flag game?
Yeah.
And no, I think they beat us. Dang it. Cottonwood High School. We sold it out. I can't remember even who won.
I don't know who won either.
It was to raise money, but I think I did get to throw some balls to Johnny in that one. We brought Sean Bradley in. This is back before his accident. And we waited till we got down to the 10-yard line, and we had Sean hidden just for fun, in the locker room.
Yeah, he came out.
And then the announcer came on and said, it looks like BYU's bringing in the secret weapon. And Sean jogs out 7'6", and we have him just go post up in the end zone. I just throw it like 12 feet up there.
Tough to stop.
Yeah.
Tough to stop at 7'6".
Yeah, that's the first time I had met him, and I saw him out of the corner of my eye, and I'm like, someone's in the huddle with their kid on their shoulders, and he's
that big.
Yeah.
I was standing next to him, talking to him on the sideline, and we were just talking, and we were watching. Defense was out there, and I turned over, and I realized I'm talking right into the side, like into his side, like just barely above his hip. It's amazing what 7'6" is.
So you know what it's like to beat the Utes on their home field. And so for BYU to do it last year, and you're watching it, what'd you think?
Well, my daughter's here. She came with me today, and she saw me. That's one of the most excited I've ever been watching a sporting event as an adult.
Was he going crazy?
You ran a victory lap like in the house?
Lap, she says.
And I have people, when they talk about in my game in 2006, always kind of tell me what they did and jumping up and hitting their head on the ceiling in the basement and putting a hole in it or whatever. And I was like, man, I think I was more excited, as a fan, because you're so powerless, right? So it's you see it happen, and it was just awesome.
So victory lap around the house. What was your route?
I don't know if I'd say it was a lap. I ran into one room and ran back, and yeah, I was just fist pumped. I was so pumped up that I just had a feeling, that he's gonna make the kick. And BYU's kind of had some bad luck with game-winning field goals, so it was a little bit
not
sketchy,
since Will's been here.
Yeah,
but over the years,
yeah. But he was ready, and you could see him smiling on the sideline and stuff before. So I'm like, he's got it. And as soon as he kicked it and you see the trajectory, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Because honestly, throughout that whole game, we didn't have that much business being in the game and winning the game. It was not a great performance overall, but to pull it out at the end is just so awesome.
Did you hear K-Pop's comment after the game when they asked him, and he went to Will and said, which hash do you want it on? And Will goes, it doesn't matter. I'll go through the pipes. I don't care.
Yep.
What do you think? What do you think about that for a kicker?
That's awesome. That's the mentality. It's it doesn't matter, because, if you do start getting too focused, because it seems to me right-footed kickers, they usually kind of like it on the left hash, right? Because it kind of curves in there. But that's the mentality you got to have. It's if you're a little out of your comfort zone, it's and you need it to be a certain way, it gets more sketchy. So you just you got to be
They are money. We had him on the show.
He and his wife.
Vanderhaar was here too.
The punter and the holder. He punts and holds. His wife were on here, and we said, "Were you guys nervous?" And they said, "Not really." And we said to the wives, "Were you nervous?" And it was like, "Yeah, we were terrified."
Yeah. It's way more nerve wracking watching. Like so people ask me too. Were you nervous catching the ball? And it's like, it's just catching a pass. It's right there. I've done it tens of thousands of times. But when I was watching, I knew it happened too. Obviously, in the replay, I was watching the next day when they showed it. We were at a family gathering, and I was a little more nervous then, even though I knew the outcome.
Yeah, because there's always a chance.
You watch this like, do I really catch this?
There's always a chance in the replay that he might miss. You watch it over and over and over.
So this is 2 wins in a row against Utah, and it's been how many years since Utah's beaten people? Because they didn't play for quite a while before that, but 2 in a row. Number 3's coming October 18th when they come to Provo again. BYU hasn't won 3 games in a row since 1992 against Utah. What do you think? Is this going to be 3 in a row this year?
I don't see why not. Get in there and execute the plan, and they have the guys to do it. So I think they should. And
you played. So Jake Retzlaff comes back as a senior quarterback after having started the whole year. You've played with quarterbacks that were underclassmen, but you played with John Beck was that as a senior? I think you played with him as a senior.
Yeah.
What difference does that? Because I keep saying to people, I think the offense will take a big step forward. The quarterback's a senior. You've done that. You've been on the field. How big of a difference is it for a guy to be a senior that's played a bunch at that position?
I mean, the quarterback position to me is like the hardest thing in sports. It's like, I don't even understand how those guys can do what they're doing back there. Like, it just takes a tiny bit of experience. I helped out coaching like once a week. I was in my late 20s, so I was still in pretty decent shape. And they needed a scout team quarterback for one practice. I'm like, I'll do it. And so that was like one of the few times in my life I've really played quarterback, like with a line there and receivers running routes. And it's just like it's the most difficult thing ever. So experience for a quarterback is just huge. And Jake coming back, with that experience of, leading some game-winning drives, I think there are some errors and stuff that he made, throughout the season that I'm sure he's going to be learning from. So, I expect that you learn from the good things, you learn from the mistakes, and you just, he's got it. It just seems like he's going to be better,
Yeah.
Next in from Pensacola, Florida, the Outlaw Bandit. Hey, Dave and Blaine, watching from Bountiful. Good to have you guys on the stream tonight. We're visiting with Jonny Harline on the Wise Guys, presented by BradyPlus, distributed by the Deseret News. So the Utes had a 12-year head start in this Power 5, Power 4 now football game. Do you think BYU's caught them in 2 years? And the trajectory now of kind of a separation of momentum on BYU side moving forward?
It looks that way. There's certainly peers, and BYU's got the best of the contest in the last couple matchups, and so I think you have to say yes, and hopefully, like you said, the trajectory continues to where love to see BYU dominate for a little while. Utah kind of had the upper hand for
too long.
I want to say really kind of 2 decades. We had like just a few last second wins, in the 2000s and the 2010s,
right.
And so it would be great to see BYU just kind of, get some dominance in that rivalry for a bit.
Drummond, Montana, the Mackeys are in with us. We're going to ask you some tight end questions in a moment. But first, let's
talk about music.
Let's get the guitar out.
Let's talk music.
Let's see what's happening here.
So while you're grabbing your guitar, we'd let people know that you play in a band called Tiger Frog, right? We got that right? Tiger Frog. Play the guitar. You sing. And we're going to have you grab the guitar. But first, tell us about your history with the guitar and your history in music. Like, this is something you've done for a long time. Like, even when you were playing football, you loved music and you loved playing the guitar. So how did you get into all of this, and how important is this as a part of your life, your music?
Okay, so I've played since I was a kid. I was like 7 years old, taking piano lessons. And I get on my kids now, like, do your half-hour practice. And it's like, that's what I did, like, every day. And sometimes I would complain, but, I liked music overall. So, it wasn't a huge chore most of the time, I think, to get me to practice. So I would do my practice, learn a little about music. Once I got into like junior high, started doing a little more like drums and guitar, you know, because it's rock and roll.
Right.
So, yeah. And so, yeah, and, you know, that's been over 30 years now that I've been playing. And it's still a big part of my life. You know, I wrote a English college writing class in high school as a senior. And they're like, what do you want to do, like, you know, when you grow up? And I was like, well, I want to play in the NBA, the NFL, or be a rock star. You know?
Those are 3 good choices.
So, you know, NFL a little bit, but, you know, I love playing, and I've since I did finish playing football, kind of played in bands pretty consistently since then, and just a great time. And while I was down in Las Vegas, my great friend, Willie Ashley, who he is actually the vocalist in the band. I figured I would attempt to kind of sing one of our tunes.
Nice.
Because it's better than me just like playing some chords for you.
And does
you know?
Tiger Frog have a number? Do you play some covers, but you play a lot of original stuff?
Our album, if you look on Spotify, it's all originals.
All original, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we've got a bunch more. I mean, you know, we were writing a ton of songs together, and I do a lot of the music, and it was great to find him because I think he's awesome with the lyrics, which I have always kind of had a hard time with. And I think he's got an awesome rock and roll voice, great range. If you listen to it, it's like the very beginning, it's like this scream, you know, type of growl. And it's like, you know, who is this guy? It's like those classic rock and roll voices.
Go to Spotify and do Tiger Frog.
Tiger Frog on Spotify, and we can listen to some. If you guys are playing a live event, and say down in Vegas, do you mostly do all original stuff that you're playing, or do you do a few covers here and there?
Yeah, probably like I think for the shows that we were playing, we probably did about half and half.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we, you know, beyond the album that we released, I think there's 12 songs on there, and you know, we have a full album's worth still to, you know, record and produce and everything. So yeah, we have a lot of material.
Cool. Which one are you going to sing? Which one are you going to sing for us tonight?
So I believe this is the first song that, you know, when we met and kind of started writing some stuff, I sent over a bunch of music that I had written. And I believe this is among the very first, if not the first song that he sent me back, like a recording with his vocals and the lyrics and stuff. And it's a song called Slow. And I just thought it was awesome lyrics. You know, it's just, I mean, you'll hear it, I guess, but it's, you know, taking it slow, and you got just kind of like backing off of all the busyness that we have going on in life. And yeah.
That's a great message. Water right there if you need it, right there, by the way, John. That's yours.
I'll take it.
By the way, as you're about to sing, we've just learned that Yegor Demon's going to announce tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. on his Instagram what his decision's going to be.
Well, that's
the
interesting.
NBA or coming back to BYU.
Now, I don't like to read too much into things, but I already have, right, by saying that down those guys went someplace else. But if you're going to make an announcement now, if you were thinking about going to the NBA still, wouldn't you wait till after the NBA draft camp and that kind of stuff and then make an announcement?
I think you have to announce to get to the NBA
okay.
camps.
So he's going to announce whether or not he's going to pursue it, which still gives him an option to come back.
So there you go.
Okay. So
there's your
I'm not going to read too much.
Breaking Yegor news is we're going to find out what he's doing tomorrow. Right now, here's Jonny Harline. He was open, and Beck found him for the big touchdown. Tonight, he's playing his music on the Wise Guys.
All right.
Put down that phone, baby, don't you make that call. There was a time you didn't own a phone at all. what we've been doing. Trust me, nobody cares. Let's make some memories that we ain't got to share. Now you're hustling every day and there's never no delay, and I always hear you saying, gotta go. But the night is so inviting and she's looking so excited, so you gotta do the right thing. Slow. Follow her footsteps that she's leaving in the sand. Gonna take you miles away from all your precious plans. Smoke from her fire that she's burning by the shore. Gonna take you places you ain't never been before. Now the reggae music's playing and she got her body swaying, so you better not be saying, I gotta go. And ain't no one mistaken the rhythm y'all be making, so you gotta do the right thing. Slow. You gotta take it slow. Gotta take it slow. Put your arms around your baby. Gotta take it slow. Fall out a step, don't forget to let it slide. Pour out that bottle you've been keeping deep inside. You give and give and give, but you'll never take. Let's get to living, baby, before it's too late. Now I know I understand it, your life is so demanding that he never can abandon and just go. The reggae music's playing and she got her body swaying, so you know you gotta take it slow. You gotta take it slow. Gotta take it slow. Put your arms around your baby. I gotta take it slow.
Hey, the great Jonny Harline, taking it slow here on the Wise Guys. That was awesome.
Oh, thank you.
So fun. Yeah, we don't get, man, we just don't.
You don't
we
get
gotta have
nervous
more
doing
music
that?
on this show.
You don't get nervous doing that?
A bit. I will say, like, I'm not the lead singer.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm not used to doing the lead vocal, but, you know,
That's awesome.
do what I
though.
can.
That was great.
It's a great, fun song with a great message too.
Oh, appreciate it.
Do you like doing the which do you prefer? An acoustic guitar, that sound, or do you prefer to play electric and, you know,
Well,
and do some shredding?
There's some of both, right? Like if Tiger Frog as a band name has any meaning at all, it's like you got the fiery tiger and you got this kind of relaxed, chill frog. You know, so I like kind of the mix of it. I mean, I like playing electric guitar the most.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
just
and and he's going to do that for us. By the way,
We're going to see that in a few minutes.
Yeah.
He's going to shred on electric for us in a little bit. So
Let's talk about summertime, and as a football player back in your day at BYU, getting ready for a season at tight end. What were your summers like? What was important to you to be game ready come August when the team's back together?
Developing chemistry with John, the quarterback, and and then just developing my individual skills. One thing I tried that I don't actually think worked that well was one summer I'm like, all right, I'm going to go all summer and I'm going to catch with no gloves, and then when the season starts, I'll put on the gloves. It'll just be a little bit easier, and I don't know that helped me really. When I put on the gloves, I started dropping a few. I think mostly in practice. I had very few drops that senior year, but just developing the timing, the rapport between the receivers, the quarterback, that's huge. And then, just anything you can do to just get that little bit of edge with your athleticism, get a little faster, a little stronger, all those things.
You just heard us talking about 4-star tight end Brock Harris that just signed with BYU today. Not signed, he committed to be BYU, and it's not signing day yet. He's not until next year's class. Of course, they're recruiting. These are juniors now that are committing in next year's class. Former tight end, Utah tight end, and Stanford tight end Carson Ryan transferred to BYU this season. Everybody's been saying, what's going on with BYU tight ends? Why don't they go to the tight ends like they used to when we had Johnny and Daniel and Andrew and Dennis and on and on and on. Great tradition. So they've got a couple of pieces now. Is it time for BYU to get back in the tight end game?
Yeah, I think it would be awesome. I mean, to me, I think the most important part is to just have a variety of ways that you can attack the defense. And a tight end is just really a great, I think, pressure release for the quarterback. You got a large target that's generally pretty close to you. So to me, it always seemed like a fairly easy throw and get, kind of a safety for the quarterback at a minimum. So, having a back who can catch out of the backfield and then having that great rapport with your receivers, that it's hard to stop an offense, and that's really, I was mentioning working in the summer with developing the rapport with the quarterback. I know John worked with our 4 wideouts a ton because that was kind of seen as maybe a little bit weaker than the connection that I had with John and Curtis out of the backfield. And I think teams started keying in on us, and that made it a little difficult for us at times. But then once we got those outside guys going, it's that was just, we were fairly unstoppable for the most part.
Isn't it interesting that it's not that you've got to have a tight end to hog the offense? Because there was you and Dennis Pitta. Just go down the list of Gordon Hudson. All along your great production of numbers and touchdowns, the receivers got open, the running backs were running. It was
CB
a complete
was catching
team.
Balls out of the backfield, right?
It was a complete team when the tight end is part of it.
Yeah, and it's not a zero-sum game. It's the more that each person produces, that helps the other players. And I mean, at some level, sure, there's a finite amount of plays and stuff like that, but it's the more productive your offense is, the more productive every individual on that offense is going to be too. So
we go back. Everybody remembers the great catch at the end of that game, and I was doing the sideline for that game for television, so I had to do the first interview when the game was over with either Kyle or with Bronco. Didn't know who until the last play. Thanks, that made me stressed. But I remember, in addition to that, I remember the great one-on-one battle you had with Eric Weddle, and basically going into a game where Utah said, okay, Harline's a crazy weapon. This is they considered Eric the best defender in the country. We're going to put the best defender on the best receiver, and we're going to see what happens. So you knew that was one-on-one a lot of that game. They played some zone, but every time it was man, he just followed you. What was that like to have the challenge? Because you know how good Eric was and became. What was that like in that game?
Well, yeah, I mean, amazing player. And good guy, I believe, too. I don't know him very well.
He's a great guy. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. Really good guy.
He married a BYU girl. Of course, he finally got smart.
But, it was a kind of a mix as far as the man-to-man goes. They had, Casey Evans guarding me a lot as well, and Sean Smith, Bryce McCann.
I mean, those are all NFL guys. You're making a list of Utah's best defensive backs ever. All came from the same era. And they're going on you.
That is one thing I was pretty proud about that game. Not just the last catch, but I had 3 touchdowns. I made some plays that I was happy with, and against high quality opponents, right? So that was awesome. And I will say, like, when Eric Weddle was guarding me, like, he was the best person that I thought guarded me maybe throughout my career, as far as, like, you know, defenders, they get pretty handsy. And back in those days, they were not calling that.
Just let them hold you and grab you.
They're not calling that hardly at all. And I'm not complaining about that. You know, I just felt like I just had to overcome that and deal with it. But he was the one that I was like, he wouldn't be touching me. And I'd make a move, and normally I'd be open, and he was right there a lot of the time. And I was like, man, this guy's really good. Yeah. You know, and, you know, the touchdown that I was fortunate to get when, you know, on that fade route that I tipped it and stuff. That
it's one of the great plays of that game.
Yeah, I mean,
totally overshadowed by the end.
Yeah, the end was, I don't know if it's an easier catch, but that catch was as big a part of the win in that game, and that was a crazy great catch.
Well, thank you. I mean, yeah, but he was right there on that one too. Like, that was extremely difficult. And, you know, anytime you tip it, you get a little bit of element of luck in there as well. It's like, you know, it stayed right there with me, so I was able to grab it. But, you know, so he was a great player, and I feel, you know, it's a proud feeling to go against, you know, some of the best players and to come out on top and have a successful game.
This year's Cougs have Carson Ryan, who transfers down from Utah, 6'4", big body blocker. And that's part of it too. They tried the experiment with Keanu Hill last year. It just didn't work, and then he got banged up. But you need a bruiser for a tight end, don't you, to fire up the offense?
Yeah, I mean, playing physical and getting out in the secondary, that's a big part of it. I will mention as well, I've never met Carson, but we have a connection through high school. I went to high school with his mom.
What?
And yeah, his mom was the year ahead of me at Orem High School, and her dad was our athletic director, Steve Downey, and his daughter Danielle was the year ahead of me. And I found out, I actually just saw them a couple weekends ago. There's a few connections here, I guess, at a funeral for my high school basketball coach. So there were a lot of people from Orem High there, and one of my very best friends, it was his father who was our coach, who had passed, and you know, he was on our team as well. And I remember him a long time ago telling me, like, hey, this kid, you know, Danielle's son, Carson, is an awesome player. Like, when he was like sophomore, junior, and he's telling me, like, there are a lot of people comparing him to you and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I hope he does well. So I've kind of followed him as he's gone, you know, to I think UCLA. Then
was it UCLA?
Right?
Yeah, that's right. UCLA, and then Utah. I said Stanford, but UCLA. You're
so
right.
Yeah, I'm pumped for him to come down, and you know, I saw, like I said, I saw his mom for the first time probably maybe since high school last couple weekends ago at the funeral, and so I'm hopeful that he's going to finish off his career at BYU and just be a.
He caught
awesome
a lot of
guy.
balls in spring practice.
Yeah, he looked good in spring ball. Yeah. It's nice to have a guy that can play every down. You know, you could play every down. The guys that came before and after you could play every down. And it seems like the last couple of years, BYU's had to kind of situationally substitute. Oh, we have to put a guy in that can block. Oh, we have to put a guy that can run this certain kind of route. And almost tipping the defense off. Oh, here comes this guy. They're not going to run the ball because this guy's in, right?
I will say, you know, we did quite a bit of that actually with me and Daniel.
Yeah, because Daniel was a blocker. Right?
Yeah, and I think Coach and I, he maybe shuffled it up just enough to keep him honest. But like, yeah, I was honestly, a lot of the time, my junior and senior, I'm like, I can't believe they don't figure out some of the stuff that we're doing.
but here's
I
what
lost
Robert,
a lot of respect for the defending planning there.
They were just
here's what Robert did enough, because you could block and Daniel could go catch a ball. And so
Right.
Robert would enough. He put Daniel in there attached. And then teams would say, well, here comes a run play. And then Daniel would block down a release or outside release and run a 12-yard out and catch the ball. And they go, dang it.
So as long as there's some, you know, little bit of doubt in there and they got to play it honest, it's
or they play you detached and then let's cover Harline. You come down and make a crack and just kill somebody, right? And so he mixed it up enough that they couldn't go, oh, Harline's in, it's a pass. Daniel Coates is in, it's run. And I just saw Daniel at Alumni Day the other day. So he's coaching up at Farmington High School and doing a great job.
Oh, awesome.
Yep.
Jonny Harline's on the Wise Guys. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. Just before we play the electric guitar and wrap this baby up, you're now ready to teach tight ends. with your tight ends camp. Tell us about that and how folks can get their kids involved.
Yeah, well, tight ends, receivers, or really with some of the younger ages, just general football.
Okay.
So I'm putting together a few different groups. My twin boys are 9, and they've been going to a camp type thing, once a week, and they just love it. They just go out there, they learn a few things, they have some fun, and my cousin Nate Johnson, he runs the training facility over at. It's a solar company. It's where the old Gold's Gym on 8th North and Orem was.
Yeah.
And so down where those tennis courts used to be, they got a great field down there. And he's been doing like athletic performance training. And he's said, he planted the seed like years back. He's like, hey, you need to come out and do some receiver training and stuff like that. And so finally we're back up here, and I'm like, yeah, let's make that happen. We'll get a young group with kids around my boys' age, middle group, and then kind of high school, more serious stuff, working on real detailed tight end type things. And just like mastery type things. So anyway, yeah, so we want to get started probably next week, I think is what we're aiming for.
How do people find out?
Yeah, so they can email Next Level Skills, but there's no E's in the next and level.
NXT.
We've got it in the stream right now.
Level is LVL, skills, and it's on the stream. But if you're listening on the podcast, NXT, so that's next. Level is LVL, and then skills at gmail.com, right? Next level skills at gmail.com.
Yeah, or there's, you can text 801-859-7233.
Yep. 801-859-7233.
If you want to be like Jonny Harline, you've got to learn from Jonny Harline.
That's right.
And now you have a chance to go to a tight end camp, receiver camp, football camp, and it's now the weather's decent. This is a good time to be out. This is a good time to do it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I think a big part of it is just with something that's so rewarding about football is it's a lot of fun, but it's difficult too, and so it's a great thing for kids to start learning some of those things. And, it's also more fun when you're winning, and having success. Sure. So, helping these kids kind of develop that balance between enjoying the game, working hard, coming to love it. And so that's kind of what I hope to be able to share.
Fantastic.
And now that you guys have moved back, so I need you to be on my team next year on the alumni game.
Yeah.
They made me play this year, and we won. So now I get invited back next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I beat Brandon Dolman's team and Gavin's team.
It was something else.
So I could have used you out there.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, you need to be
the
back
other team
in that
had
game.
Cody Hoffman and Levitt Heath and all those guys. But I had some good guys too, including Rob Daniel, who was just in the NFL 2 years ago. So I had a really fast couple of dudes, right?
Yeah, it's so fun, and it's kind of hilarious playing in that game. And I'm like,
you played in it before, yeah?
Yeah, I played twice. The first time I played, I was 40 years old. I'm 42 right now.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, and so then you got guys that are fresh, a year or two out of the NFL or out of BYU, and it's just oh man. And I think I'm gonna I gotta see him, I'm just gonna toast this guy and go right up there, and he's just running right along with me. I'm like,
we figured first half all of the quarterbacks struggled. Second half I figured out, you know what? I got Moroni, Leolupututau here. I'm just gonna hit the big guys underneath. It's just way easier. So I could use you out there next year.
All right, grab your
team Navy.
Grab your electric guitar and we'll plug that in. While you do that, we'll tell you Bob Hudson is going to join us. He's the chair of the French and Italian department at BYU. He's going to join us in a couple moments. We're going to. It's the French connection.
I threw out a French phrase for everybody.
Yeah, we're going to get a definition of that.
That we're going to have to give you my wife says it's endearing. I don't even know what I'm saying.
We also can tell you that Yegor Demon's going to announce tomorrow his future plans on BYU TV, on BYU Sports Nation at 10 a.m. And that tells me if you're coming on BYU Sports Nation, I don't know if you're coming on to disappoint everybody.
If he
it's there are other ways to do that.
Dave and I just love this kid. He is such a good soul. He is so fun to be around. And he just loves life. He loves his experience here. He loves basketball.
Let's see what
his
happens.
parents should be really proud of who he is because they did a fantastic job with him. Yegor's a great, great kid.
All right.
Here we go with Jonny.
So we've never had an electric guitar in here, but I love the direction we're going. What are you going to play?
Tell us about this one.
I had a little bit of a plan of what to play, but I think I'll just kind of
jam for a minute.
Jam something
Let's
out
do it.
here.
Okay.
Let's do it.
who's your guitar idol? Like, do you have somebody that you grew up watching that's just like, oh man, and you may have one or two, but is there somebody that's just your guitar idol?
Yeah, I love Slash from Guns N' Roses.
Oh, sure. He is amazing. Yeah.
You know, so that for a long, he was probably my longest guitar hero as I was growing up and really learning to play. I love AC/DC, Angus Young.
That's his band. That's his favorite
classic.
band.
Hey. Yeah. I was at AC/DC in Vegas at the Thomas and Mack, and Slash was the warm-up band.
Oh yeah,
and he came out and played.
Tour,
he came out and played, and then the boys came out and I remember he came out with his big hair and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And Slash hit his guitar, and then he just was in full command.
Yeah, I mean, just unbelievable.
Does this say me that I love Eddie Van Halen? I think Eddie was just changed the way people did things, right?
Yes. I mean, those are maybe my top 4 guys: Eddie Van Halen, Slash, Angus Young, Zach Wilde. I love as well.
How about Keith Urban?
Keith Urban, he's a great guitar player.
No, he is a great. Dave took me to a
awesome.
concert, and I've never been. And I just watched him just go on the guitar and shred, and I said, "Okay, I had no idea."
And
that he
Brad
could play
Paisley
like
too.
Yeah.
Both those guys.
Yeah, Brad can play.
Yeah, I mean, when you're like a professional musician, it's kind of like in sports. I remember somebody was like, I can't remember which athlete it was, but it wasn't a basketball player, and he was like making a bunch of shots, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, he can do everything." It's like, you're an athlete. You can do that, and so it's like, if you're a professional musician, you're probably pretty good at guitar and, several instruments. So
yeah, who is it that plays with the Eagles now? Country star, but I'm losing my mind. DJ, you always know the answer to this. Who took the place of Glenn Frey in the band for the Eagles? I'm going to think of it here in a second. But anyhow, we went to watch him, and I thought, Vince Gill. Yeah, Vince Gill.
Okay.
I thought Vince Gill's a country artist. How's he going to be? We go to an Eagles concert, and I'm blown away. Like how he can play rock and roll guitar. He was phenomenal, and his voice is off the charts great and rock and roll.
Yeah,
but
awesome.
like you were saying, he plays in one genre, and that's where he made it big. He's a musician, right?
Yeah.
So, and you play drums, and you play piano, and you play guitar. Do you play any others, or those are 3 main ones?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say drums. It's been a long time, so I wouldn't. If you were like, "Hey, come play drums on the show," I'd say, "No, that's probably not a good idea."
I don't even know how I'd do it.
Yeah, but piano, I still could play piano. And I have these songs. I took lessons for like 8 years. I have a few like Mozart tunes I bust out every now and then.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and
Hey,
so piano and guitar mostly.
We love that you're back living in Utah and you're back at BYU, where you should be at all the games coming up on the sideline.
Somebody on the stream said you should have a lifetime bench pass if you want it. So you brought. Is this your oldest, your daughter?
This is my daughter, Layla. Yep.
Hey, Layla, come over and say hi to the world. Do you want to make your first global appearance? Just come on in right next to your dad.
Do you want to sing or do anything?
Do you sing?
She does.
She's
in
too?
choir at her school.
So this is Layla. So she's your oldest. How old?
15.
15. What high school?
Juan Diego.
Juan Diego.
So Juan Diego.
Fantastic.
So you're on about 4 continents tonight, and then people will be downloading this all over the world tomorrow. So we wanted you to make your global debut here tonight.
Do you think your dad cool as a football player that made big plays, or that he can play the electric guitar?
Here you go on this.
I mean, I think the music is pretty cool, but like playing football is pretty. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, they're both pretty good, right? If you can do it.
Yeah.
Well, he could do it, and he does it really well. So we hope you're proud of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
I tease her too much for her to say she's
It's a great answer for a teenager. I'd take that any day.
Pretty
nice
proud.
job.
Usually at 15, they're like, Dad and Mom don't know anything. So,
hey, thanks for coming on the show.
Glad you rode down with your dad.
All right,
That's
thanks,
good.
guys.
Good luck with the football camps. And again, the information's on our stream. And also, we want to have you back as we get ready for a third season in the Big 12.
You can help us break down the tight ends and see how they're doing.
All right.
Jonny Harline and family.
Yes, thanks,
on
Layla. Thanks, Johnny.
The Wise Guys. That's awesome. What a that was great. As we clear out, we don't have any roadies, so as Johnny and everybody
DJ
clears stuff out.
Pretty much a great roadie. He's pretty much a great roadie.
Let's get to our Cougar Board question of the week, and Johnny will go out and Bob will come in. That's how we do it here on the Wise Guys.
Yeah.
The Cougar Board question of the week. The Cougar Board is the largest online community of BYU fans, thousands of posts every day. Our question comes from Escal or Skull, and I never know which one that is, one of their insider subscribers. During the World Report, during General Conference over the weekend, the church ran a small piece on the football team during work with Pathways International, had an interview with Kalani about the importance of BYU's mission. Does this signal, or further signal, that the church sees value in having a successful football program that brings in fans and attention around the world? And will this impact at all the financial abilities of the football team and the surrounding NIL collectives? Boy, there's a lot in that.
There's like 5 questions in there.
I'll tell you this, and we had breakfast with our friend Vi Sikahema.
Yeah, do we have to call him Elder Sikahema?
I think we'll just call him that.
Okay, so we'll call him Elder Sikahema, but at breakfast he's Vi. Sports
is very important. Being successful at whatever BYU does is very important. This BYU pathway and the football team and the connection they've made, and one of the pathway students from Africa gave the opening prayer through technology at the stadium, and it just wowed everybody. Like, what's going on here? There are more people enrolled in BYU pathway than BYU, and on all of it outside the country, and a lot of it's in Africa. And this connection with sports is huge. And they're behind it 100%.
Yeah, and it's interesting. He told us a story of 2 apostles that the Elder Ballard was telling Elder Packer about Boyd K. Packer about athletics and exposure and all that kind of stuff, and talked to him about the value of the exposure, because Elder Packer wasn't a big sports guy, right? But Elder Ballard was, and Elder Ballard was talking to him about that 2 minutes on that nationally televised game where they just talked about the missionary program of the church and all the missionaries that went out and the different places they went and the value that brought and the exposure that he goes, when they shine a light, when the athletic programs are good and they shine a light on the university, they shine a light on the church. And Elder Packer said, yeah, that is of tremendous value. I can see where sports can bring value to the university and to the church. So yeah, the church recognizes that as long as it operates, and if you have not heard the interview we had on this show with Elder Clark Gilbert, who is the what's Elder Gilbert's title? The Commissioner of
Church Education.
So Elder Gilbert is responsible for all of the church schools, including all the universities, BYU Hawaii, BYU Idaho. Go back to Wise Guys and listen to that interview, and he'll talk to you about the role that athletic plays and how they have to keep it in balance. And as long as it's in balance and it's shining light on the university, the church is all for it.
Our next guest, let me introduce him, as he's already gotten plenty of TV time. Now let's put a name to his face. He is the answer to this question. What do you get when you mix Kentucky drawl with French? You get the chair of BYU's French and Italian department, former offensive lineman at Murray State, a pedigree that's tailor-made for the Wise Guys, and we welcome our friend Bob Hudson into the show. Good to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm thrilled to be here.
And I know you don't live too far away from our lair.
Yeah, don't tell people. For security reasons, we tell them it's an undisclosed location.
Get down the street. So we got all kinds of football questions to ask. Well, let's start with this one. How do you take Kentucky drawl and fluent French and just make that work? What's the magic sauce?
That's a really good question. I actually have students that ask me the first day of class, if they learn French from me, are they going to speak French the way I speak English? And I try not to be offended by that question, but I let them know that I learned my English in the south of the United States and I learned my French in Paris. So it's, the blend, I don't know how good of a blend it is, but it's part of my personality, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
Do you, in France, like here in the United States, we have, you go down to the deep south, and sometimes people start talking, and you're thinking, I can't understand that. I don't even know what they're saying. It seems like a different language, but it's just the way the dialect is just a little bit different. Is that evident in France as well, or countries in Europe or Italy? If you go to different parts of those countries, do the people have different accents?
Absolutely, yeah. Southwestern France has the Gascon accent that's pretty strong. Marseille, that's closer to Italy, has sort of a sing-song version of French, but the most marked one probably is in Quebec, so up in Canada. a lot of French people cannot understand the French Canadians the first time they talk to them.
Really?
In fact, it takes me a couple days to train my ear. I love it. I think it's a beautiful variety of French, but that's not the general opinion. I love the French Canadian Quebecois French. But yeah, it's very, very different. To answer your question, Blaine.
We thought we'd mix French and football for a few minutes.
Alrighty.
So we're going to give you a football term, and then you give it to us back in French.
Okay, so this is, let me just let you know that because it's an import sport, a lot of them you're going to be let down because they're going to be just borrowed terms. But the French Canadians they don't like to borrow terms. They do have their own, so it's different.
Right, well, let's see. Let's see.
The French Canadians have football. They have CFL, right?
They do. In fact,
so Montreal Alouettes are there.
Ben Cahoon was basically the Jerry Rice of the CFL.
Yeah. Are they still the Alouettes? I think
they are the Alouettes. Absolutely, yeah.
So it's the Hamilton Tiger Cats, the Montreal Alouettes, and
Toronto
Argonauts. I worked out for the Argos.
Oh, did you?
My good buddy Scott Colley, Austin's dad, played and was really good for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And Greg Peterson's a Hall of Famer that played on my team that played for the Stampeders in Calgary.
Okay.
We've had some really good players come from BYU that went up to Canada and had quite impressive careers.
Austin himself played for the BC Lions for a while there. I actually went to a game, saw them play the Tiger Cats in the BC place, and Austin was the star of the game.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, so let's give you some words, and then we'll just see where this goes.
Okay.
So in America, touchdown's touchdown. What do we got in?
In France, it's touchdown, or in Canada, touché.
Oh, touché.
Touché. See, I did not know that.
Touché.
I double dog dare you to use touché on one of our broadcasts.
You got to do it.
Touché.
Right. Quarterback.
Is the quarterback ou quart? So quarterback in France, quart, Q-U, like quart, like a quart of milk. Quart is how you say it in Canada.
Quart?
Yeah, quart.
Oh, my gosh.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
All right, a few more football. For holding.
I think it's just rattrapement. Not sure about that one.
All right, well, we're going with you.
So I want you to give the signal.
Let's do the signal.
Yeah.
Rattrapement.
Yeah,
you're grabbing on. Rattraper. Yeah. It's une foot. I know it's a foot. Une foot. That's how you say a penalty.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
So in foot is penalty?
Mm-hmm.
So,
In foot.
okay.
All right, face mask.
Not sure. La grille. I bet it's la grille. The grill.
The grill.
Oh, so grabbing
so.
the
That's
grill. There you go. Yeah.
All right, how do you say catch in France?
Attraper is the
French.
verb. Attraper, attrapement ou réception. It's,
If I was a dad saying to my son,
Those are nowhere
"Hey, let's
near
go."
football terms.
Because they have to have this phrase in French. If I said to my son, "Hey, let's go play catch," how would I say, "Hey, let's go play catch"?
Oh boy, that's a good question. I'm not really sure. On va aller tirer la balle. Okay, so we're gonna go throw the ball.
Let's go throw the ball.
Tirer le ballon. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, how would you say cougar tail in French?
Okay, so this would be a big one for Canada because it's maple syrup, right? It's maple.
yeah,
so,
that's right.
They have one called queue de castor, which is a beaver tail. It's a big thing there. So we would just say, I'd say queue de cougar. Queue de cougar. Let's call it that.
Okay. Nice.
Okay. Interception, how would that?
Interception.
There you go.
Even still. What? How about wise guys?
Ooh,
You could even call them wise men. You could do whatever.
les sages.
Les Sages. That's our show over there.
We should
Les Sages.
have, in parentheses after, we should have les sages.
Yeah, we had
mages.
someone on the stream from Paris the other day.
Yeah, we've had some French
Do you
folks
think
in
they said
on the
Les Sages? How do you say it?
Les Sages.
Les
They
sages.
say it's Monday.
Les
Les Sages
Sages.
guys are on. How do you say Kalani Sitake's name in French?
Kalani Sitake.
Okay.
Kalani Sitake.
So names are pretty close, right?
I have to say the phrase that my wife says is very endearing.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
she says she likes it when I say, "Je t'aime beaucoup, mon petit chou."
That's a good one. Yeah, yeah.
So how do what's the interpretation of that?
Yeah, what does that mean?
I love you very much, my little cabbage.
But why is that endearing?
Mon petit pois, my little pea, and mon petit chou are terms of endearment.
So it would be like in English, I would say, "I love you, my little cream puff," or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So I love you very much, my little cabbage.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's a very endearing French.
Another one is ma biche, which means my doe, like the female of deer.
So you could say, "Je t'aime beaucoup, les dos."
Ma biche.
Or ma biche.
So Eric's on the stream from Singapore and says, "So good to see Bob on the show. Just don't let him get started on the Lakers."
Oh, no.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
We can pass that up. I'm wearing blue today. It's not forum blue.
So you have a BYU connection that a lot of folks might not know. As a football player and you played for Murray State. But you took a recruiting visit here.
Yes.
And when you come, the players get paired up with other players to host.
Correct.
And you had Kalani Sitake as your host.
My direct host was John Tate. I'm sure you remember
Big John Tate.
Ben
Yeah.
John
He was a
Tate played for
monster.
the Bears and the Chiefs.
Yep.
Biggest man I ever met.
First round draft pick, top paid offensive lineman in the league for a number of years.
I thought I was big at like 6'6", 275 in high school, and he kind of had to tighten in and duck to get in the room. And I was like, this is a big man. But Kalani was the chaperone over all the chaperones. So
He was in charge?
He was in charge.
So how
Even
did that
back
trip
then.
go? What'd you do?
It was awesome. His brother TJ was actually part of the visit, and Justin Enna, who ended up playing.
He'll
with
be on the
Cougars
show next week.
for the Eagles. I'm a Cowboy fan, so I kind of
Okay,
I have
all
to say
Yeah.
that with the
Cowboys
with
and Lakers.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
But the trip went great. They took us up into. We went up to a cabin, watched highlights in someone's personal home theater near Sundance.
Yeah.
We went out to Johnny B's that night. I actually sat by Ben Cahoon. He was part of that. He was one of the chaperones for one of the wide receivers. Went to Johnny B's and saw a hypnotist.
Oh, yeah?
Ben Cahoon got hypnotized.
We'll have to ask him about that.
We went to a laser tag. There used to be a laser tag right there where Smith's in downtown is. There's a laser tag next door. We went and played laser tag there together. Just had a great time. It ended sad for me. I joke with Cameron Chow, my friend, because his dad brought me into his room, and basically
Right.
the first thing Norm Chow did was play my tape. And the very first play, they were going away from me. I didn't really block downfield like it did. And he just said, "Why are you lazy?" It's the first thing Norm Chow ever said to me. When I told Cameron that, he laughed and said, "Yep, that was my dad."
Yeah.
I had pancakes with Lavelle Edwards and Patty Edwards up in before the stadium was called Lavelle Edwards Stadium in the president's box there, and that's where he told me that he didn't have a scholarship for me. Wanted me to go to learn the offense at Rick's, and that wasn't what I wanted to do as an 18-year-old. So
you go off to Murray State, which is a very very good program and closer
is.
to home, and how was your experience there? So was BYU your first choice, and then you go to Murray State? How was that experience?
BYU was my first choice. It was one of my 5 official NCAA visits. I also went to Kentucky, Louisville, Indiana, and Cincinnati. And BYU was my last one. I thought I was getting a scholarship. So I actually went on my mission before coming back, and my mission president got permission for John L. Smith.
Really?
Remember the church head
Yeah.
coach at Louisville at the time, to open my recruiting up for the last 6 months of my mission. So he was sending me weekly letters, and
Oh, wow.
I thought I was going to Louisville until I got home and realized how homesick I'd been. And I had 3 teammates from high school that were playing for Murray State, and I went there and played there and had a great time. My offensive line coach was Matt Luke, who's now the O-line coach, assistant offensive coordinator for Clemson. He's head coach at Ole Miss a few seasons ago. But Joe Panunzio, who's now with the Eagles, with player personnel with the Eagles, was the head coach at the time. So I had a great experience there. I only played for a year until I blew my knee out and couldn't play anymore. But
What was it like to be told no? When in life we just want to be told yes the whole time, and you're here and you're visiting with Lavelle Edwards, who's a legend. You've got your plans, he's got his plans. The man upstairs has his plans, which always seem to be the best. But when you hear the word "I don't have that for you," what did you learn?
I could hardly swallow the mouthful of pancakes I had, to be honest with you, at the time. Kind of felt like the world was crashing down around me at the time. And it was a big moment of soul searching for me. I went home and, prayed a lot. And, it was basically, if it's not going to be BYU, where do you want me to go? And it was crystal clear I was supposed to go on a mission. And I tried pleading and saying, okay, how about 1 year at Kentucky, go on a mission? And it was very clear, go on a mission now. And there were things that happened. There were things I saw, things I experienced,
Sure.
people I met that made it crystal clear that I was supposed to be there when I was. And I've got a strong testimony and witness of that.
What did you see in Kalani during your host, during him being the chaperone all those years ago, that you now see today because you got a great relationship with him as a head coach?
Yeah, he's a guy whose personality fills the room. I think there's a reason that Lavelle chose him to be the head chaperone of the trip. He's got a personality that just fills the room, and he is someone that makes everyone feel welcome. And it's a gift he had. I served in a bishopric with him for 3 years in a YSA ward, and he just has a personality that fills the room, and you feel his warmth. He's very welcoming, just a great guy all around.
Bob Hudson, the chair of BYU's French and Italian departments on the Wise Guys with us, presented by BradyPlus and distributed by the Deseret News. You're a former offensive lineman, so you watch line play really closely. I know you do. So what impressed you most about BYU's offensive line this last season?
You know, the way they kind of came together as a unit despite injuries. That's been the story the last 2 years. I've enjoyed watching Connor Pay, especially just develop as a talent. And I see big things happening for him as he moves on to the next level in the NFL. It was just fun watching that unit come together. One of the things I really liked was, I don't know how BYU does it, but they always have. You're talking about John Tate again, but they get these guys that are just colossus. You had Kime playing this year and Etienne, who were 6'8" and 6'7", and made me feel small when I went to check out practice. But you get these guys that are just these just massive men that can move. And that's one thing that we recruit well. They're being coached well. And I enjoyed watching them work as a unit and kind of come together and gel at the end. Colorado had a really, really good defensive front, and they got shut down in that game.
Yeah, that was fun.
At practice, when those guys come off, the Giants that you're referring to, and they all have the braces, and it's like they're just being held together because you can't take any risk, right, of a knee or whatever. So they come off like machines. But like you said, there's not a 6-footer now.
No.
You know?
Oh, no.
They're all 6'6", 6'5", 6'7". Sometimes they're even taller, and they that's where you win games.
Yeah,
that's where you win games. Where you play.
When you get a guy that's that tall and that strong and that heavy and that athletic, and he can still be mobile and he can still get under someone, right? It's a game of leverage. If you can be mobile and get leverage at that size, you're going to win a football game.
So we get Connor Pay's off now to the NFL. Caleb Etienne, they were trying to get him another year, but he'll be off to the NFL. Yeah. I went to a couple practices the last week of spring ball, and I was very impressed with. They have monsters freshmen and sophomores that are coming back. I'm like, oh my goodness, they're even bigger coming back, but they're not going to have quite the experience. With that being said, what are your expectations for this fall for this football team?
I really think Kalani coaches a next man up system. It's hard. It was really hard coming into a big conference like the Big 12 from where we were before and having the kind of depth that we need to. And I think this season was the first where he really was able to recruit with the NILs to get that depth that he needs. And I think he has this next man up. There's going to be growing pains. There's going to be growing pains on the offensive line, but I think they're going to put 5 guys out there that are going to move some people. We're going to get yardage this year. It's going to be a fun season.
LJ is bigger, 20 pounds of muscle. He looks more like Harvey.
Awesome.
But he's got those boys to run behind. And in the Colorado game, Jake didn't have the best game throwing the football, but they ran the ball right down their throat.
Yeah.
And that was just something this is what this team has become. And imagine they'll try to do that again on the 27th when they're over there in Boulder.
I think they will. Yeah.
Everybody thinks quarterback's the most important position, which it is. Like if you don't have that guy, you can't. But then probably next up is the guys up front, because you really can't do much. Even with a good quarterback, you can't do much without good guys up there. So,
well, you look at salaries in the NFL. Left tackle is one of the biggest ones. You got to protect that blind side of that quarterback, especially if you've got a right-hand thrower. Left tackle is a very, very, very important position.
Did you like getting a hold of DBs when they'd come through and just lay them out,
or pull out on a run and be the guard that's pulling or the tackle?
Speaking of pancakes,
taking on a little dude.
Pancakes was, that's the stat that kind of started. Orlando Pace was a big player when I was a kid that I like watching growing up. The pancake block. And I loved pulling out. We had this play that when I was in Kentucky, we were a football school and a basketball state. And I was all-state twice in the state of Kentucky at right tackle. And we would run this quick pitch to the right where I got to pull out. And my first responsibility was the cornerback, and I just loved being able to just lay a cornerback flat. And it was double points. It was almost like you could get some pinball action there. If I could lock into that cornerback and throw him into the safety, that was my favorite thing in the world to do.
Here's the interesting thing now, and people that follow closely know the rules changed in the last couple of years. Used to be if you were a 6'6", 300-pound guard and you're coming out and you're turning the corner and you have a defensive back in your eyes, the defensive backs were taught to come up and just take you out at the knees. Just take them out in the hole. Just clog it up. They're not allowed to hit the lineman below the waist anymore. So now a 185-pound DB, if they're going to take on the lineman, they have to take them on mano a mano. I got to come and meet you. If those were the rules when you were playing, you would have killed some fools out there, right?
I would have had fun. I would have had more fun. I mean, my knee injury was largely due to, a guy at the secondary level. A guy at secondary level. It wasn't a dirty hit, but I wasn't expecting him, and my knee buckled in AstroTurf. But yeah,
I think it's a good rule, by the way.
I agree.
Like, be a man out there, right?
Yeah, you can ask my wife. She'd be very happy if I had 2 functioning knees today.
Man.
Well, you do speak fluent French, so she's got to be happy with that. And let's talk about that for a moment. As the chair of the French department, so your language kicks into gear really on your mission over to Paris. What is it about French that just grabbed you and you've made a life out of it?
There's my grandmother was French, so I always had this cultural attachment to France. But getting called on a mission and being there, and they just have this joie de vivre ou douceur de vivre, this sweetness or joy of life, where they just enjoy meals. They enjoy their time on this earth. They can be, in the world and of the world. I know that's not, maybe not in line with the way we feel we should be, but there's something about this, world savviness about being over there that you want to enjoy what they've done. Long 2,000-year history of great monuments, great history that you could just check out when you're going through places, and it's just a beautiful country. I
was going to ask you about so I work for an international company when I'm not doing my broadcasting stuff, and we always, when we're meeting with our French partners, or it seems like even our Italian, and you also chair the Italian department,
correct?
And so you know a lot about Italy as well. They always say, guys, you need to chill out a little bit.
Oh yeah,
like don't be in such a panic. Life just seems a little more relaxed in both of those countries. Is that universally true, or am I just from a few experiences making a misrepresentation?
It's not a misrepresentation at all. In fact, there is just sort of this slowness of life that they just enjoy meals. It's not uncommon to have a 2-3 hour meal. Take time out in the day to rest. They're limited to a 35-hour work week, and it's illegal to go past that. You can't even answer. You're not even supposed to answer your emails at night once you're not on the clock. So
Dave and I are on the 70-hour-a-week plan with all the stuff we're doing.
I feel that way as a chair also. There's constantly the inbox is blowing up. I don't even want to think about it right now.
Yeah.
But,
we're going to a bad place. Let's keep talking about the rest of stuff.
Yeah. But there is this sort of you're supposed to appreciate life. It's not just about getting from point A to point B. It's the journey, and they do that really well over there.
What is it about the Missionary Training Center that allows you to digest a new language in 6 to 8 weeks, and then all of a sudden you're in it, as opposed to taking a class online for 5 years and finally putting together a couple of sentences? How is it sped up at the MTC, and then when you're over there in Paris, they kind of drop you off and say, here's your companion, good luck? How long did it take you to pick it up?
It really is. I'll answer the first part of the question first. It's the gift of tongues. I really have a firm belief and testimony in that. But being exposed to it all day, every day for the 8 weeks, 10 weeks, however long you're in the MTC, it does build a nice base for you. And you get over there. But to answer your other question, I thought I was doing pretty well in the MTC until I got in that Air France airplane heading over, and I heard the announcements, and I didn't understand a word of that. I'd say it took about a month where I was understanding people, and about 4 months, so 6 months total on the mission, where I could say pretty much everything I wanted to say.
Yeah. Well, when I was on the plane going to Texas, that other country over there by France, and I sat down next to a Baptist preacher of all things, coming from Salt Lake to San Antonio, and he started talking to me. I didn't understand a word he said either. I was like, okay, that's Texan. We didn't have a class on that.
Nope.
But that's awesome. What's the biggest misconception that we Americans have about France? the French people?
This is a big one. There is this misconception that the French are rude or that the Italians are rude, and it's absolutely not the case if you're willing to meet them where they are. Now, if you're one of the fanny pack carrying, I'm going to go and I'm going to speak only English and I'm going to do only the things I would do if I'd stayed in Provo or if I'd gone to Los Angeles. Yeah, you're going to have a hard time adjusting. But if you go there and you make an effort to speak the language, you make an effort to appreciate their culture and appreciate who they are. They're a small but proud country. There's a reason that the rooster is their national symbol. It's a small but proud country. And if you meet them and you have an appreciation for them, they will love and appreciate you in return.
That's well said. We've spent a lot of time in Italy and in France and an exceptional amount of time in Spain. And we've just had nothing but respect from people because when we go, we just try to embrace the culture and just be part of it.
What do they get from the movies? Is that where it comes from, the image?
Yeah. I think it's a stereotype that was developed by Hollywood, really, to, it's easy to make the French be the snobby, highfalutin type when they're not all like that. I mean, there are people like that, but the overwhelming majority are very warm and welcoming.
So we know you're fluent in French, obviously. You're also the chair of the Italian department. Are you also fluent in Italian?
I'm not fluent in Italian. I do understand quite a bit. I can say what I want to with time, but in conversation, I'm kind of a step behind everybody else from my
But you could be the chair of that department because you run the department and all the administration, all the things that need to be done without having to be fluent. I wondered if you were like trilingual or.
So when the Italians come into your office, do you go, listen, I'm voting for the French on this one. The French get this, and the Italians are like, come on, man, give us a shake.
Never. In fact, it's already stacked against them. The French were much better at colonization than Italy was, and so we send a lot more missionaries to French-speaking places than we do Italian-speaking. So we've got 14 full-time faculty, 11 in French and 3 in Italian. So I feel like I take special care of my Italian colleagues, make sure they can do whatever they want to do.
When there's a World Cup showdown, though, what happens?
It gets intense. In fact, we had our version of the World Cup. There's a French versus Italian cook-off every year. Both places are noted for their cuisines as well. And the Italians won this year. And we've got a statue on the front desk of our office. It's this portly chef that has his hand up like this, and we tape a flag of the country that won in his hand. So it's the Italian flag for another year.
So the Italians won it.
Even
though they were outmanned or outwomaned, they won it.
Well, it's the students. It's the students that cook.
It's
the students that cook. So it's the Italian club versus French club, and the Italians won it this year.
Nice job, Italians. All right, we're thrilled to have Bob Hudson. He's the chair of BYU's French and Italian departments on the Wise Guys. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. I believe he's ready for 5 questions.
Yeah. Yep.
Presented by Strategy Square, owned and operated by a BYU alum. Let Chantal help your business grow at strategysquare.co. So we hit all our guests with 5 very important questions.
Okay.
And we did not prep you in advance.
Top of your head stuff, right?
This is all going to happen live here.
Yeah, at the end of the show, we're going to do 5 questions of just something for us that's, it's always something about cereal with us. But anyhow, your favorite sports movie?
Oh, man, favorite sports movie. It's hard to go wrong with Field of Dreams.
Oh, if you build it, they will come.
That's a classic.
James Earl Jones.
Who was your favorite actor in that? Because there were a bunch of side actors that were awesome.
There were, all great.
Good question. Ray Liotta. I love Ray Liotta.
Yeah, so Ray played Shoeless Joe, right?
He did play Shoeless Joe. So side actor, Ray Liotta.
Darth Vader had a key role. I thought he was really good.
Terrence Mann, the writer.
The journalist. And Kevin Costner was good.
He's great.
But those guys around, the supporting actors, I thought
the
really
wife of Kevin was great in that. I can't remember who the actress was that played
Amy
it.
Madigan.
Yeah, she was great.
Yeah, she's very, very good.
She's like all our wives are like, look at you like, are you crazy?
Yeah, are you out of your mind? But you know what? Whatever you need to do to find yourself.
It's an old Burt Lancaster that's playing
Moonlight
Graham,
right?
That's right.
The Dr. Graham. Right?
Okay, so Field of Dreams.
Favorite singer or band?
Jason Isbell.
What?
Yeah,
I haven't heard of Jason.
Jason Isbell in the 400 unit. I know it's a.
Is it a country band?
Yeah, it's a country band,
Is it
but not country the way you would think.
Southern
of country.
rock country kind of
Yeah,
stuff?
it's so
Some other country.
exactly. It's like alternative
A
country.
lot of people down in Kentucky and Tennessee like that Southern rock kind of.
That's what he is.
So that's what he is. That makes
he was
sense
with the
to me.
Drive-By Truckers, which are very much a Southern rock band, but he's
Jason Isbell
Jason,
and the 400 unit.
that's his band is the 400 unit. But Jason Isbell just has an acoustic album that just came out. He's very good.
I always like the ones that I haven't heard of because I always go listen to.
Hey, what'd you
I go to
think?
my Apple Music
What'd you
and
think of
listen.
Harline singing that song?
He can sing, man.
I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
People are still chiming in. They're Wolfgang Van Halen can play as good as Eddie could. And like on and on and on. Vince Gill, and Vince is great. You mentioned him, but okay. So favorite is Jason Isbell. Favorite breakfast cereal. Always got to have something on cereal here.
Okay. This might be the one that gets mentioned by most people, but I'm a big fan of Golden Grams.
There's no shame in
I
that.
actually like Golden Grams. It doesn't come up very often, but I could absolutely have a bowl of Golden Grams right now.
It's a commitment because you got to eat them quick.
That's right. They get soggy
They
pretty
get
quick.
soggy.
Yeah, because they do.
If
They
someone
soak it up.
distracts you before you know it, it's over.
Pour it out and start over. Yeah, or you lose the crunchiness.
But when they're crunchy, they're good. They're Golden
good.
Grams. All right, that's a good one.
His is like plain old Captain Crunch.
Yeah.
That cuts the roof of
like
your
that.
mouth. I don't get it.
It does.
Without the crunch berries, I don't get it. So, and then mine is Cinnamon Life. So
That might be my number 2.
and it's not too far off of Golden Grams.
Golden Grams is a little more kid cereal,
Yeah,
where Cinnamon
yeah.
Life feels a
Yeah.
little more grown up.
It's still got
That's
just
why I
as
like
much
Fruit
sugar.
Loops.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing.
So your favorite French cuisine?
Okay. I did a video on this one once. It's called Cookie Saint Jacques. They are St. James scallops.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and what makes them? What makes them
Cookie
French? How do you take the
Saint-Jacques?
scallop and make it French?
So they take the scallop, they poach it in white wine and lots of butter, put it back into the scallop shell, and pipe Dauphine potatoes around it and bake it with cheese over the top.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
right.
There. As soon as you add potatoes and cheese to my scallop, I'm in.
Now, I know you're.
To me, French is all. Every time I go out for French food in France, I feel like, man, there's just another tremendous sauce. Like I feel like the sauces are what make it in France.
That's what it's the sauce. It absolutely is. The saucier in the kitchen is one of the most important people there.
Is cuisine a French word?
It is.
Yeah.
Do your kids like the scallops?
Yeah.
they'll
My
eat
kids
them,
eat
huh?
well. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and number 5, your favorite BYU moment.
Okay. I was a little too young for 84 to be the big thing, although historically I do love that moment.
I love it too.
I'm going to be honest. It was my first year. After I got hurt at Murray State, I transferred to BYU. I was a student here. It must have been, I think, 2002. I'm going to guess it was 2002, but it was the BYU-Utah game where there was the Doman to Staley pitch about halfway down the film, and he turned the corner and went and won the game in the last
Place went
seconds.
bananas.
Yeah, so I was there for that game. That had to be the moment that was the one that stands out for me personally.
That's a great one. I remember that. I think I called that game.
I was watching that in the media room at the Lennox Lewis Hasim Rahman fight.
We all remember where
at
we were.
Mandalay Bay, and I went into the fight late because this was the last drive. Right? They scored that touchdown, and then Utah came down and was it Irvin Lee or who got the pick? Was it Gennaro who got the pick?
Gennaro. I
think it
Gennaro got
was,
the
yeah.
pick to put the game away. But I remember Staley getting the ball, and then he just became the fastest man on the planet. But watching it on TV, just seeing the fans just go bananas.
I was one of those. 45,000.
So you were in the stands. I was in the booth. He was at the Lewis fight?
And then Lewis knocked Rockman out like a bag of cookies.
He's got great heavyweight championship
That's a great
stories.
moment.
He
So
was
the
a-
Staley touchdown.
There you go. That was a great football team too that year.
It was. Yeah,
so,
very much so.
That's awesome. Good
It's
stuff.
great having you here. Thanks for coming.
No, thanks for having
You're
me.
our
This has
first
been-
chair of a language
Yeah.
department, and hopefully not the last.
Yeah.
And we've learned some new words.
Yeah.
All that we can repeat, which usually,
And my thing was not a bad thing. It was a good
No,
thing.
it was a
right?
good
My
thing.
It was a
line.
good thing,
How
very
was
much
my
so.
accent?
love you
Was it okay?
cabbage or
It's
something
good.
like that.
I did pretty good?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I'd give you an A.
Oh, nice. There you go.
I will say ailier rapproché. That's how you say tight end.
L.A.
LA Harpush.
So
That's
that
how you
means
say it?
The wing that's closest. So tight end.
Ailier
Ailier means wing or end.
And is it La Pouche?
Rapproché.
Rapproché.
So close up.
Ailier
The
rapproché.
close up end. The tight end.
L.A.
What's your record? What are the Cougs going to do this fall?
How many wins?
I'm going to say a solid 10.
Nice. 10 would be great.
Solid 10. That's regular season.
And then they go win a bowl.
And
So
then,
10 and 2?
then the playoffs.
If they're 10-2, they win the league and go to the playoff, maybe?
I hope so.
Yeah, that would be
Seems
fun.
like you would. If you're
Yeah,
10 and 2.
I think if you're 10-2, you win the league.
Yeah.
The great Bob Hudson, chair of the French and Italian departments and former offensive lineman at Murray State and a good neighbor of ours. Thanks for being
Yeah,
here.
thanks for coming.
Go Racers, go Cougars.
Go Racers and Cougs. Fantastic. And we learned, I feel like we learned some stuff tonight.
Yeah.
I feel,
Oh, yeah.
I can't repeat any of it, but I feel
brought
educated.
Bob, a little culture to the show tonight. So I appreciate that. Always appreciate that.
Pleasure.
So.
Thank you. All right, let's head down this home stretch here in our last few minutes, get you up to speed on what's going on campus. And again, the big announcement tonight is Yegor Demon is going to announce his big announcement tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock on BYU TV, on BYU Sports Nation. And so, you know what? That'll be one of the biggest audiences in the history of BYU Sports Nation.
Yeah.
Spencer and Jerem will have that, and then we'll have all the aftermath. And
Somebody put on the chat, yeah, we saw Yegor at General Conference with a beautiful young lady from the basketball team. Maybe that's a sign. So
well, I think let's just talk about that for a sec. Not that, but Yegor going on Sports Nation to make his announcement. He's confident enough to go on Sports Nation and announce he's going to the NBA. Without hesitation, and he loves BYU enough to expect BYU to celebrate that.
Right.
So it's not a
not
foregone conclusion.
No, it's not a given.
But there are other ways to do it if you're not going to come back and say, like a tweet, Instagram. He'll probably announce it on Instagram and then be a guest with BYU TV. But
We
it seems like
selfishly want him back.
Yeah.
And we all feel like with Yegor back and the progress he'll make with this staff to develop him between now and then, and you add the talent that's coming in, we expect them to be in the game that's going on right now instead of Houston next year.
Yeah, and if he does come back, and we expect Richie to come back, and then you have Yegor, you have Richie, you have AJ, you've got Keba, you've got 3 or 4 spots to fill in the portal still. Man, you've assembled Kevin Young in less than 13 months, give or take. He will have assembled on paper, the greatest,
the most talented
the most basketball team in the history of the program.
Until they go out and win, then they're not the great, but certainly the most talented.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So that would be amazing.
So we'll wake up tomorrow morning and be eager to see what he says.
Great.
Here's what's going on campus.
Yeah, let's start with men's volleyball. National ranking number 7. They're 17-7, 5-3 in league. Remember, when we say in league, that's not the Big 12 because they play in the MPSF. BYU swept Stanford 3-0, 3-1 on Elaine Michaelis court at Smith Fieldhouse. This week, big matches at number 2 UCLA Friday at 8 p.m., at number 2 UCLA Saturday at 6 p.m., both games on the Big Ten Network. Next home match is Pepperdine at BYU, April 18th and 19th.
Women's volleyball head coach Heather Olmstead will work this summer as the head coach of the U.S. Women's Under-21 national team. They'll compete at the Pan American Cup July 20th through the 28th in San Jose, California. Heather coached the Under-21 team to the gold medal last year at the NORCECA Continental Championships. So she'll do that and then come home, and it's right time to get into camp for her Cougars heading back to another season in the Big 12.
Yeah, let's talk about our dear friend Elaine Michaelis. Just passed away this past week. Born in 1938. How about that? Memorial services Thursday at 11 a.m. Lakeview 8th Ward Building. That's located at 155 West, 1600 South up in Orem. A tribute reception will be Thursday from 2 to 4 p.m. at the Smith Fieldhouse, open to the public. Elaine served as BYU's women's athletic director and volleyball head coach. She was a first ballot American Volleyball Coaches Association Hall of Famer.
I think her claim to fame is she was a coach and then the athletic director for the last handful of years. But it was at a time when you had to fight to get funding. You had to fight to get floor time. You had to fight for women's sports. And she lived long enough to see that fight evolve into this golden age of women's sports at BYU. They just win at everything.
Right.
Teams, individuals, And to see where women's sports is at BYU
it's dominant
today from where it was when she was in there fighting for, we want to play at the Marriott Center. We wanted this. I need funding for this. And let's be honest, it was a guy-driven thing, and we're not great with change.
Yep.
And we're not great with being told what to do. And she had to fight through all that.
There's a reason that it's Elaine Michaelis Court.
Yeah.
And rightly so for all she did over at Smith Fieldhouse. So all those volleyball games are played on the court that bears her name. Cool.
She hired Gordon Eakin.
Right.
She hired Jeff Judkins. She hired Jen Rockwood. I mean, just think of the wins those three compiled. And some are still doing it with Rockwood and, of course, with Gordon Eakin. Softball's 23-10. They're 7-5. They routed Iowa State 13-0 on Saturday to win the series 2-1 in Ames. And mentioned Coach Eakin took the job. Elaine Michaelis convinced him to do it in 2003. And here we are in 2025. BYU's in third place in the Big 12 in just their second year at 7-5.
Texas Tech's really good again this year.
Yeah.
So
and they'll deal with them later. Arizona and then BYU. This week, Utah Tech's at BYU tomorrow. 5 o'clock Mountain Time. And then UCF comes from Orlando over to Gail Miller Field Thursday through Saturday. Fresno State's at BYU on Monday. That's an early game. So we throw that one out there because it'll be over before we come on. And all of that stuff's available on ESPN+.
Well, and get out there. The weather's getting good. Get out and support these sports. So baseball is 15-14, 4-8 in Big 12. TCU swept a 3-game series against BYU. You covered a bunch of this team here in the early part of the season. I went on the road with them.
The pitching's got to get better.
They got to have better pitching and do better. In the final, the Frogs rallied back twice from 6-run deficits to win.
Yep, 6.
You got to have closers. You got to have
middle
closers.
guys, and it was a tough.
Yeah,
that was a tough
they beat
one.
Oral Roberts 12-10. These are all high-scoring games. So Big 12 standings: Kansas is in first place, Arizona second, West Virginia third, BYU's in 12th place at 4-8. Utah's in 14th place at 2-10. That's the only thing that makes anybody feel good.
There are 14 teams. The Utes are last. 12 of the 14 make the conference tournament.
Right.
So there's stuff to fight for, whereas last year you had to be in the top 4 or whatever, and you were out, and BYU was out early. So all these games matter.
Yeah, this week they're at Utah Tech, so a non-conference game Tuesday at 4. At Utah, and that matters, Thursday through Saturday. The next home game is Utah Valley at BYU, Tuesday, April 15th, and all these games are available on ESPN+.
Women's golf ranked 55, but they should be moving up, having just won the USF Invitational at the Olympic Club in San Francisco. MJ Bottergan won the individual title. The Big 12 championships are up next, April 15th through the 17th in Hockley, Texas. And this is the perfect time to win a tournament.
That's right.
Win a tournament and go play for the Big 12 title.
Absolutely. National ranking for the men's golf team is 30. And up next for them, the Western Intercollegiate is April 14th through the 16th. That's on the Golf Channel, so you'll be able to check them out.
Fun to watch.
Big 12 championships for men are April 22nd through 24th in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
The Masters is this week in Augusta, Georgia, Thursday through Sunday. Former Cougar Mike Weir got the green jacket in 2003. Dan Forsman, a friend of the show, his best finish was 7th back in 1993. So those are our connections to the Masters right there.
Two guys we know.
Love that tournament.
Yeah. Track and field, national rankings. The men are number 13. Mm-hmm. The women are number 39. Jenna Hutchins won the 5,000 meters at the Stanford Invitational. Her time of 15:15.95 is the fastest of the season so far in the NCAA.
It's crazy.
Yeah. They're breaking records left and right, this track program. So the Triton Invitational recap from this week is this, or the Triton Invitational recap. Oh, how did they do?
This was all part of that. They were 3 different places.
Okay, they're all over the place.
So yeah, that's the thing with track is that there are 3 different places.
Well, I know. So like even the men's team will divide up, and hey, the distance guys are going to this. It's a little different.
Like this week, for example.
Yeah. So this week, Weber State Spring Classic is Friday, April 11th. The Utah Spring Classic Saturday, April 12th. Different people will run at different events. So, the bottom line is this track program is a healthy program and doing really well.
Gymnastics, BYU defeated Utah State in the play-in meet, 195.950 to 194.475. That got them into the regular first round, and they were eliminated in that one. But Brinley Anderson qualified for the NCAA championships in the beam. That's coming up April 17th through the 19th in Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah, men's tennis is 12-8, 1-6 in conference. They were swept on the road at Arizona State and Arizona. This week, Utah's at BYU on Thursday.
Got to win that one.
Yeah.
Got to win that one. Women's tennis is 16-8. They're 6-5 in the Big 12. Lost at Kansas State and Oklahoma State this week. Now they've got UCF coming in to Provo Thursday. Houston's here on Saturday, a chance to get a couple of wins there.
Yeah, and Brendan and I went to watch the women last week when they, the week before when they had Kansas at home and a big victory, which is good. There's a big difference when these teams from lower elevations come up and play here. BYU definitely has a home court advantage, so we'll look for them to get a couple of wins this week at home. Landscaping national champions.
How about this?
So this is big. We don't talk enough about some of these other events. We probably don't give the Cougarettes enough credit.
But we will.
But the landscaping national champions, the BYU landscape program, that's their 10th national title at the National Collegiate Landscape Competition. We're going to have 4 members of that team come on the show next week.
You bet we are.
So there you go.
Right over there.
When you win national championships, you come on the Wise Guys.
You do. And we're going to find out how you win a national championship in landscaping.
Exactly, because I'm not sure what the criteria is.
Tonight we learned French. Next week we're going to learn landscaping.
Yep.
A lot of great things going on campus. Let's roll out of here on this day. By the way, it's halftime in the game.
Yep.
Houston's
so we're going
up
to get
3,
you out in time for the second half,
which we promised to do. On this day, April 7th, there's a lot of things that happen on this
Let's
day.
start with 1348.
Let's go back.
I want to go back. Prague University opens. That's the first university in Central Europe.
Very first one.
Yeah.
1348. Let's move forward. 1927, the first long-distance television transmission from Washington, D.C. to New York.
1927. And I should say Prague, because I want to say it right. That's how they say it in Czech Republic. Yeah.
What do you think they said on that first transmission? Do you think they said, can you see me now?
Testing. Can you see me right now?
And then they make a commercial about it?
So 1964, IBM introduces the System 360 mainframe computer.
Seemed like that was important.
And now this thing right here has more capability than that.
Yeah, isn't that nuts?
That's crazy. 1970,
John Wayne wins an Academy Award for True Grit. By the way, if you're ever looking for a cool show to see that's old school, True Grit.
There you go. 1984, BYU star, former BYU, Jack Morris pitches a no-hitter for the Tigers against the White Sox.
How about 1984 as a sports year for anybody who's
that was a big year
with BYU?
Yep.
2019, on this day, Dwayne Wade and Dirk Nowitzki played their final NBA home games.
Interesting.
And then they were done.
Now Dwayne Wade's part of the Jazz operation. So,
April 7th, birthdays. In 1860, a very important person in all our lives was born. William Keith Kellogg of Kellogg cereal.
Yeah, Kellogg's. It's okay. Kellogg's is okay.
That got me thinking. The top 5 Kellogg cereals, I'm going, it's easy. Fruit Loops, number 1, then Frosted Flakes, then Pops, then Apple Jacks, and then Frosted Mini Wheats.
See, that's your 5. And I didn't look at yours.
Who's are your 5?
My number 1 is Frosted Flakes. My number 2 is Apple Jacks. My number 3 is Fruit Loops. My number 4 is Raisin Bran Crunch.
Okay.
Because
I kind of snuck in there.
I like to take Raisin Bran Crunch and put it in vanilla yogurt and then mix it up and eat it. To me, that seems healthy, and it actually is really yummy. So that's one I threw in there. And then I agree with you. Corn Pops deserves to be in the top 5. You call them Pops. They used to be called Corn Pops. So
back in the day, when
there were sugar
corn pops when they were the best.
So you can't call them sugar corn pops anymore.
Some focus group said, let's take the sugar off the box.
But I'm going with my number 5 is sugar corn pops.
Sugar corn pops. That's a good one. Those are great.
And notice your favorite cereal, my favorite cereal are not made by Kellogg's.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Captain Crunch isn't made by Kellogg's, and neither is Cinnamon.
No, but it's a tribute to William Keith Kellogg.
Golden Grahams.
That's right. All right, so that was William Keith Kellogg, born on this day in 1860.
He had a big influence on our lives.
We're still eating his stuff.
So 1928, James Garner, the actor from The Rockford Files.
1939, Francis Ford Coppola, director of The Godfather, born on this day.
Yep. Let's go. We're going to go back to
that's
1954.
Yeah, sorry about
1954, Tony Dorsett, Cowboys running back.
Yeah, he was good. As a Cowboys fan,
when he was at the University of Pittsburgh, and I was getting recruited by Pittsburgh, Dan Marino was the quarterback. It was Tony Dorsett. Then he went to the NFL and he became Tony Dorsett.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. 1960 on this day, James Buster Douglas was born. He went on to knock out Mike Tyson in Tokyo.
Then he gained a lot of weight. And wasn't that
you know
good.
what? I interviewed him in Vegas about that win over Tyson, and he was just the nicest guy.
Yeah. Speaking of nicest guys, how about the next guy? 1961, Thurl Bailey, Former Jazz great, North Carolina State great, and just all around great guy.
Happy birthday to Thurl. 1964, Russell Crowe was born on this day.
I just watched Gladiator the other night.
Yeah, that's a good show.
Yeah, I was on the road.
I like the cleaned up version.
It was the very end of it. I'm clicking through and I'm like, oh, I love the end of this movie.
Yeah.
So I watched the end of it.
That's a good one. I like the cleaned up version because the violence. I don't like the violence
too much,
like that.
Little too much, yeah.
But he rocked it in that one. April 7th, deaths.
1891, P.T. Barnum. Barnum and Bailey. You've seen The Greatest Showman?
Yeah.
It's all about P.T. Barnum.
Yeah, that's good.
Amazing. I love The Greatest Showman.
1947, Henry Ford died on this day.
Yeah, he did a little to make our lives easier.
My grandson's name is Ford, and so they bought the shirts with the Ford logo. Mm-hmm. That's what he wears around. That's his name, Ford. That's cool.
2010, George Nissen. You just say, who's George Nissen?
Who is George Nissen?
He created the trampoline.
We all know George Nissen now.
We wouldn't have the halftime dunk shows if it wasn't for George Nissen.
No, we wouldn't have. What we've done on all those summers.
So no, it was 1910, right?
Yeah,
not 2010. Yeah, 1910.
No,
no, he just died.
Oh yeah. These are deaths.
Yeah, he just died. He just died.
I was going to say I need to get a new secretary.
No, he just died.
I am my secretary.
You are the secretary.
2012, Mike Wallace passed away.
60 Minutes,
from 60 Minutes. Good friend of President Gordon B. Hinckley. They did a lot of interviews together over the years.
He was great.
Our Wise Guy's inspirational quote of the week is from Henry Ford, who said,
I believe God is managing affairs and that he doesn't need any advice from me. With God in charge, I believe everything will work out for the best in the end. So what is there to worry about?
Yeah.
God's going to take care of it. Don't worry about it.
Kind of sounds like the French.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
No worries.
Just
Hakuna Matata.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like
means no worries.
Pumbaa. Is that what you're saying?
Pumbaa
like
says Hakuna Matata.
Special thanks to Jonny Harline, his daughter, and Bob Hudson, our guest tonight. Next week, we're working on Justin and Lee Camardi the next week or the week after. And then we're going to have 4 members of the BYU Landscaping National Championship team right here, and Brian Logan.
And Bilo's going to sub in for me because I am going to be...
You'll be on the Cougar Cruise.
Yeah, the Cougar Cruise.
Yeah.
Hey, and if I can listen in and maybe chime in, I might. So
yeah, don't
we'll
even
see
go
what
there.
Kind of
don't even
go.
Don't even go there. It's going to be on a ship out there at the sea.
But I'm gonna. It's not like I'm just going. Like I'm going to host a bunch
Maybe
of stuff.
Maybe if a satellite comes over,
I've got all my assignments. I'm hosting a quarterback.
Yeah, boy,
panel.
that sounds awful.
I'm hosting a tribute to Lavelle Edwards.
I don't know how you're going to do all that.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
Just remember your sunscreen.
So I'll do it. So.
Yeah, send lots of pictures. Former current BYU 4-star. Recruit McKay Madsen's going to join us in 2 weeks on April 21st.
I will be here for that.
That'll be a fun one. Amazing young man. He's got his mission call. He's finishing up the track and all that stuff. He's a big-time athlete in everything. Yeah. And we'll talk to him, and then we're going to see him here in 2 very fast years.
Well, and where can you find us this week? Dave's going to be hosting Sports Nation on Friday. Read his articles on the Deseret News all week. If you're going on cruise with the Cougs, then that's where you'll find me. And if you're somebody that gets on the chat with us or you follow us on the podcast, make sure you come up and say hi to me when you see me on the
Blaine
cruise.
will be in the karaoke lounge.
No,
at midnight holding serve.
I'm doing a live show with Jonny Harline playing guitar.
Yeah,
no, I'm not.
Well, he was great. Thanks again to everybody. Wise Guys, as we remind you, is presented by BradyPlus, distributed by the Deseret News. 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, BYU TV, Igor Demon's going to announce his future plans. Is it coming here to play with AJ and Richie, or is it going to the NBA to play with, LeBron and some of those other guys?
That's right.
I'm sure he's already decided, right? But tonight, he's sitting there going, well, we're going to tell everybody tomorrow. That's kind of a cool moment. You don't get those many moments.
Yeah, tune in for that, and then tune in to Dave on Friday, and I'll see you on the cruise.
Oh, and by the way, the Cubs beat the Rangers 7-0.
Yeah,
thanks for that late mention on the stream.
Appreciate that.
That's cool. See you, everybody.
See y'all.